Hi everyone. I'm really happy to be here, being part of this event. I mean, there's great conferences all over the place, and it's always a pleasure to share about product and technology. But in the meantime, I have mixed feelings. I have this kind of imposter syndrome. I'm going to talk about AI, but I'm not an AI engineer. I will not talk about how we train models, because we don't train really models. I'm not going to talk about a breakthrough algorithm that we put in place that change and solutionize all our problems. I'm not that kind of guy. However, I'm going to talk about AI. And I have a story to tell. It's the story of our relationship with machine learning and AI. And it all started almost, if my remote will work, it doesn't work. Yes, it works. It started almost 10 years ago with what we call the courses dropout. So I'm Romain, I'm CTO and head of product at OpenClassrooms. You might know OpenClassrooms is an online school. We provide training programs and pre-courses. And 10 years ago, there was this trend about learning analytics. So what is learning analytics? Learning analytics is the analysis of all the traces that a student can let during his training program. It could be especially on courses, the chapters they saw, the exercises they tried, the success, fail, and it's all this analysis of traces. And as you know, in data, if you want to be accurate, you need a lot of data. And actually, there's not that much platforms, especially in French, which have millions of data. And we were one of them. We have millions of users and thousands of courses. So many people reach out to us just to work on learning analytics. And one of the main use cases in learning analytics is the predictions of success or failure on a course. So it's what we call course dropout. So at this time, we partners with universities, a dozen of universities, just to find an algorithm that could predict the success of the failure of a student. I think we spent roughly 2 years, because the academic time is really different from the corporate time. And we land on something like pretty efficient, actually. We were pretty happy about this algorithm. It was based on machine learning. But there's a difference between having a proof of concept that works and being ready to put it in production and serve millions of users real time. There were expertise we needed to hire. There was technical stack we needed to implement. And if I put a really basic diagram, there were some value in here, but actually there were effort that was pretty high. But remember, at this time, we were a startup with limited resources, and actually, so, there were also other opportunities, some with the same kind of value, but with a lower effort, some with lower value and high effort, so don't do this. And so we decided not to move forward. We decided to pursue opportunities that would bring more value with a lower cost. Well, it's going to be hard. So, moving forward, thank you. There was big evolution in the machine learning field, especially in the technical stack. There was new services in the cloud that ease access and provide some facilities to train your model and so on. That was great, but it was not a big change. It actually reduced a bit the cost. But if you think about the opportunity, well, even if we've done previous opportunities, there were still opportunities that were like more efficient. So we didn't move forward. We didn't move forward until November 2022. Why November 2022? Guess what? The public release of ChatGPT. Sorry, it's interesting. It's not the same kind of AI or machine learning. It's a different value. You don't do prediction with ChatGPT. But it opened new field, especially in education. I mean, in education, we generate a lot of content. So what we did is that we jump into this new technology. We saw like so many use cases, could be internally, but also for the customers. And just because we're a school, there were also an axis just to provide skills to our students. But just let's focus on the first one, the value it could create internally and externally. The different use cases, like as I mentioned, sorry. But the major change for us, and I think for the industry, is the reduction of cost. Thank you. It opened new opportunities with high value, but at a way lower cost. Actually, to use LLMs, you don't need data scientists. And actually, most of them provide APIs, so you don't need a huge stack to use it. So it reshaped all the opportunity tree. So what we did is that we're starting a lot of proof of concept, and we are really fast on having some great achievements. No, not yet, sorry. But there came other kind of problems. We start to release our first proof of concept, but you know, LLM is only a part of what you have to give to your customer. You have to build also mechanism for scalability, quality, security, and so at every time we wanted to put a new proof of concept in production, we have to rebuild those things. So easy was not easy enough for us, and fast was not fast enough for us. Please. So we came with this idea of providing a service, an internal service, that will even help us more to get to production. Faster, easier. We call it AI as a service. It's not like we brainstorm a lot on this. Not at all. And what is? It's really thinking about different topics. The first one is really about the experience. Not only the experience of the customer, but the experience internally. How could we implement AI the easiest way possible? There's a couple of key points. We defined first what could be our ideal experience internally. And we thought that our ideal experience was just writing a prompt, write only one line of code to embed this prompt within the platform of the system, and deploy. And another parameter was being sure that if we update the prompt, it doesn't need a new deployment. That's the first point. The second point is multimodals. We have to pause here. The ecosystem of LLMs is highly volatile. It means that you just have to see your mailbox. I mean, there's new models almost every week. With new competitors, new use case, even each model is better than the previous one. So it's highly volatile. It's hard to say, oh, this model is the right one. There's a high volatility also because it's not really a mature technology yet and a mature ecosystem. A couple of examples. For example, I guess you all remember the Sam Altman gate from one day to another. OpenAI was close to shut down. We've seen that also recently with Gemini and this image generation gate. So they have to remove from one day to another these capabilities. So that's a second point for this high volatility. And the third point is that I do believe, and we do believe, that in the near future, we will have to handle many models more specialized. Let me precise that. In the mid-2000s, there were these what we call language war. Okay, people were just fighting about Java versus .NET versus whatever language. But a couple of years later, and right now, it's commonly understood that we have to be polyglots, meaning we have to use the best language for the base cases. And I do think that's what will happen with LLMs, meaning for a specific use case, some models will be better than the others. And so it's how we can provide the best model for a specific use case. So that was the second point. The third point was about not having to rebuild for every system the same kind of thing, which are security, sanity checks, the quality management, the cost management. And finally, the fourth one was about being production ready. I mean, not being able to do only proof of concept really fast, but being ready for production really fast. So let's be a bit more technical now. So this is a traditional LLM stack. You have a prompt catalog where you store your prompt. You have your knowledge base, so it could be a document, it could be embeddings database or whatever. There's this LLM service. And you have an orchestrator in the middle of all of that, just like ensure taking the right prompt, ensuring the knowledge management, calling the LLMs and so on. But also all the support activities such as quality, cost, security, and sanity checks. So what we did, actually, if you can move forward, thanks, is that we built a layer on top of that, a really simple API with only one endpoint. And we put the prompt catalog on GitHub, so everyone could update and publish their prompts. And this API, you just need to put your code on the code of the prompt, and the API will do the rest, managing all the rest. On top of this API, we built also a couple of helpers. SDK, mainly, especially we started with the JavaScript one. On top of the JavaScript SDK, we put a chat, okay? And we built also a Slack bot, and we're currently building PHP and Python SDK. So, concretely, and if we can move forward, putting a chatbot in production is as easy as writing a prompt. So it's a YAML format. So this is a mandatory field. You just need the ID, well, name, description, just to ensure it's not going a mess in our prompt catalog, and your prompt. But we also embedded more advanced feature. If you can move forward. You can choose your model. So on the previous one, it's a different one. You can choose also the type, if it's conversational or not. You can, describe where to find your retrievals. You can put JSON schema if you want to be more strict on your request and response. You can put optimizers, sanitizers, or manage limits. So it's a really simple YAML file. And oh yeah, I have to say also the prompt could take some parameters. So in your API route, you can send parameters or in the request, and it could fill your prompt. So you write your prompt, and then if you can move forward, we created a generic chat. So you just have to put, and you can see upward, I think it's, yeah, I forget that line, yeah, prompt code. So you put the ID of the prompt. You can pass parameters, so it's not mandatory. And then in production, right away, if you deploy, you have a prompt and a chatbot. So that's what we did. Because we have so many use cases and we didn't want to replicate again and again the same thing. Another example is our Slack bot. You can share the next screen. So basic things, and this chatbot, you could also put your prompt in a catalog and make it available in a chatbot. So what does it change? Well, the cost of implementation was already low, but it's already nil now. So it's a big change. From this orange dot, where we were on the learning analytics, we went to almost no effort, but a lot of value, capabilities, or opportunities. So I could have stopped my presentation here and say, oh, look at how it's beautiful, how we're super. Well, the reality is it's not that easy. And we're facing new challenges, and I'm going to talk about this. The first two ones are really about the value. And what do I mean? Next one. I guess you've all seen all these promotions in your mailbox, everywhere. Every single tool just provide AI capabilities. But who among you already use it? I will give you a personal experience that I faced this week. I was using a diagram tool, and I was just putting like 3 squares, just a quick diagram with 1 word per square. So I selected my 3 squares, just to make the alignment automatic. And then a pop-up showed up and say, oh, do you want a summary of your 3 squares? And I'm like, what? I mean, here, is there any kind of value just to summarize 3 squares? So that's what I call the AI temptations. It's not because it's easy that we have to put it everywhere. We have to think about what is the value we want to provide. The AI temptation is also linked to the ecosystem. I think for every company and every investor, it's important to show that, oh, we're using AI. But we should always think about what is the value we want to provide to the users. And most of the time, the real value and the real value of AI is not visible. So the first challenge is about not falling into the AI temptation. The other challenges still on value is at the other side of the spectrum. It's the missed opportunities. Because for years, we train our brain not to think about some opportunities that could be like really costly. Our brain doesn't always think about those opportunities that could be now accessible through AI. So it's how we reshape the way we think and put, okay, but is it possible now with AI? And most of the time, it opened like really new opportunities. I got a couple of examples within my teams. I will take the example of these designers that, were doing orientations. So we have helpers for the students to find the right training program, but it's quite simple. And we always thought about, okay, how could we put something more interactive and so on? And, with LLM, it's way much easier. But we have to reprogram ourselves. And there's still these designers that always come back, oh, it's been a while since I'm talking about having a wizard that could, could help the students. But with this kind of chat and this kind of LLMs, it's easy to do. But we have to rethink the way we see things. So that's for value. The third one is about the information. And I have to be honest with myself, and I guess most of the company has to be honest with themselves. Knowledge management has always been overlooked. We all think it's important. We all say, oh, knowledge management, managing the documentation is important, but we didn't put, or actually, I didn't put enough effort on this. Why? Because if your documentation is not up to date, that's okay. Your production will not be broken. But it changed with LLMs. And that's the limits we have. To have efficient LLMs, you need a strong also information, architecture, and knowledge management. And it becomes productions, meaning, I guess you've seen this, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, this thing where a chatbot just said wrong things to the customer. I think it was Canada Airline or something. And so provide discount that was not accurate, and they had to pay for that. So now the information becomes production topic. So it has to be maintained, updated, always up to date. You have to check, you have to ensure you have the good patterns, and so on. So here it's a new challenge. The fourth one is about the new activities. There's new activities, and among them I can call the prompt engineering. It's easy to do a small prompt that you're using on your web browser. Now, when you do it in production for many users, prompts are becoming more and more complex. You have to predict the results. And it's not that easy. I mean, that's new skills that are coming in. And new skills, new jobs, so that's a new activity. And we're not necessarily equipped. The second one is about quality. How do you ensure quality in the LLMs world? So for most of the time, quality could be automated, but here the result could differ from one request to another. Plus, how do you ensure the relevancy of this answer? So potentially new stack, potentially new way of thinking the quality. And finally, I talked about it previously, the management of the information. We have knowledge managers sometimes in companies, but it's different to manage knowledge internally than nurturing a prompt. And the final challenge we have is about the organization. With the rise of LLMs, we talk a lot about the impact on individuals. How LLMs will impact the jobs, will it remove some jobs, will it change, how people should engage with that just for their future. But we don't talk that much about organizations. And the classical cross-functional team that we can call squads with a product manager, a designer, engineers, sometimes you can put data analyst, quality. Well, this one might change, especially because with service like the one we built, for this kind of use case, you don't need engineers. Doesn't mean that we have to remove engineers, but for example, this chat that we built to help the students, we don't need an engineer to put in place, not to maintain. So it's rethinking how we are organized in this kind of cross-functional team, but also among the whole organization. So those are the challenges. To wrap it up, of course and obviously, LLMs brings new use cases that really provide new opportunities for companies and customers. But one of the biggest impact of the rise of LLMs is the reduction of the cost and the accessibility of AI to any kind of company without data scientists, for example. But in the meantime, it raised new challenges, new activities that we have to face, that we have to go through. But I will conclude that there's a lot of uncertainties right now. There's a lot also of opportunities. And I do really think we're living an exciting time. That's all for me. Thank you for having me. And I'm really happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you.
C'est bien toi. Tiens là. I think we can have questions in English and also a few in French, if you would like to.
Hey, thank you. You mentioned you could automate quality. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? What are the main approaches? Thank you.
I know. I think, no, I might not have been clear. The quality evolution was really about making it automatic. One of the challenges with the quality with LLMs is how could you make it automatic? So we've not succeeded. It's a challenge. But I think automation is not enough. There's so many use cases where you have to ensure with LLMs is the relevancy of the answer. And how you deal with that at scale, I mean, there's not that much white paper on that yet. So this is a strong challenge. Sorry, I don't have the answer for the automation. I would have. Okay.
Hello. Thank you for the talk. How do you deal with the cost of it? How you manage that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, well, there's many ways to manage the cost. So it's through, well, first through the infrastructure services that can give you the cost. Now it's about rate limiting also that we show. So it's not only rate limiting, it's also token limits, like the size of the content. So if a student just copy-paste a whole book, you know, it could be really costly. So that's why we manage that. But what we saw right now, it's not really at big scale. So we're not talking about millions of people. It's also like the kind of feature you provide at some point. Because here we're talking about students. If we were serving AI for millions of visitors, would have been different, obviously. But today, I mean, we were really surprised that cost is not really an issue. I will give you an example. We use AI also internally. So, you know, the Slack bot and other things. But when you go through the API, the costs are quite really low. And I think last month, and we're quite a pretty extensive usage, I think we're under 200 euros per month. And if you think about the number of people that use it and you take the license of ChatGPT, I mean, the ratio is like incredible. So for now, cost is not an issue yet. But because we choose also our use cases, if we put AI on for all the millions of visitors we have, yeah, might be a challenge. Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
You talk about the AI in general, but did you make the difference between the predictive one and the generative one?
Yes, we did. And I think that's also the purpose. We were not equipped in terms of skills to manage you know, machine learning and predictions and recommendations. And the big change is that to use this AI, generative one, you don't need data scientists. I do believe you don't need. Or if you want really to do a customized model, potentially. But for most of the use cases we have, we don't need. And I think that's a big difference. Because I don't think the previous AI will disappear. I mean, there's really specific use case for each one. But the big change is the accessibility to AI for us. Don't need experts, at least for now.
you talked about also the values or the skills to have the quality about AI. Do you think that we have enough people that have those skills today?
It's definitely new skills. And I think it's also a new field. I mean, prompt engineering, in specialized blog, you see that it's evolving really fast. It's evolving also with the models. Potentially we're going to see, these classic job postings. I need a prompt engineer with 10 years of experience. But, well, right now I think I don't even think there's some training. Maybe in the US, a couple of ones. So here it's a challenge. How do you find these people? And how you find also the right practices. You are talking about quality. There's some white papers, but it's not like, it's always evolving. So yeah. But, it's interesting what you said, because one of the axes of OpenClassrooms is also we provide training programs. But we embodied the fact that LLMs will change definitely the market and the jobs. And so in every single training program, on the first courses, it's about AI and generative AI. So we train our students just to ensure they will use it. Well, it's not like prompt engineer training program, but I think, yeah, it will take time at some point, in my opinion.
On va en prendre une autre. Si éventuellement en français vous vous sentez plus à l'aise, vous pouvez, hein, je répète.
Merci. Thank you for the presentation. You haven't talked about metrics. Have you seen a difference? NPS, time to market, I don't know.
What is your question exactly? I haven't talked about metrics. Oh, okay. Well, it depends really on use cases. So I can take one where we're more advanced, is about the support to the students. Obviously here it's, what we're measuring, I would be a bit technical on educations, but what we're measuring is speed of completions to acquirers, or the speed of skill acquisitions. And when we put that in place, first in a couple of training programs, we see quite a significant increase. It's not only AI, it's not like a magical tool. If you don't have the right content, if you don't have the right other kind of support. So what was quite difficult here is to really identify what is really because of this AI support versus other parameters. But yeah, in a product-driven approach, there's always like, okay, what do you want to move when you're doing an initiative? So it really depends on the use cases. We put like targets and key results that we monitor. I don't know if it answered your questions, or it was other kind of metrics you were talking about.
Attends, juste le micro.
Yes, kind of, but have you seen a difference? What would be the stake if you haven't implemented AI?
What would have been there?
Bon, je vais le faire en français. Si vous n'aviez pas implémenté l'IA sur certains use cases,
ouais,
quels auraient été les enjeux, en quoi ça vous a fait gagner de la croissance ou une meilleure satisfaction?
Okay. Alors, on mesure pas mal de choses chez nous, notamment en interne. Je pense que là, j'ai parlé beaucoup de cas d'utilisation externe à destination de nos utilisateurs, mais l'essentiel de l'AI chez nous, elle est plutôt interne, dans différents secteurs. Et je vais prendre un peu celui de l'éducation sur la formation. Donc, à chaque fois, on mesure le temps qu'on met pour créer un cours, créer des formations, ça peut être plus ou moins long. Un cours, ça met à peu près un mois et demi, mais une formation longue, ça peut mettre 6-9 mois. J'ai pas le chiffre exact, mais grosso modo, je crois que c'est 25 à 30% de diminution de temps du cycle time là-dessus. Ce qui est énorme. Hein. Quand on parle d'un parcours de 6 à 9 mois, de passer de 9 à 6, c'est conséquent. C'est aussi sur la qualité, aussi, parfois. Et puis c'est aussi sur... après, il y a d'autres mécaniques de productivité, mais après, c'est difficile de sortir exactement. Est-ce qu'il n'y a que les hypes? Parce qu'en fait, on a plein d'initiatives. Nous, on mesure, par exemple, sur l'ingénierie, on mesure ce qu'on appelle le cycle time, donc le temps entre je commence une tâche et elle est en production. On l'a beaucoup diminué ces 6 derniers mois. C'est pas juste les AI, hein, mon petit bout des AI, donc difficile ici de sortir. Après, je pense qu'il y a aussi une autre mesure, c'est l'expérience utilisateur ou l'expérience employée. Parce qu'en fait, ce qui est facile à automatiser avec les AI, c'est aussi les tâches à faible valeur d'une certaine façon. On l'utilise pas mal en user research, par exemple. On a beaucoup de feedback. Et donc, mettre la taxonomie sur les feedbacks, c'était pas forcément simple auparavant. Là, on a de très bons résultats. Mais quand tu dois gérer 5000 feedbacks à la main avec la taxonomie, donc là aussi, c'est des mesures. En plus, c'est pas ça qui a le plus de valeur, c'est après l'analyse qu'on fait. Donc, à l'échelle de l'entreprise, c'est difficile de dire. Mais sur certains cas spécifiques, on voit des changements drastiques. Merci.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. What you presented, the API and some part of the system, is it open source or accessible, or did you write a blog post about it?
Now I was expecting this question. Well, we tried in the past to open source some of our libraries, but as you know, open source require a lot of time. Just for the story, it was really, the first one was really a small library to help for a translation tool. It was a client. But already for a small library like this, it required like a lot of work on our side. Right now we're a bit stretched in terms of resources, so I think we're going to publish more details. To be honest, that's not that much work. Would be a lot of work to maintain actually, because we decided for now to be really specific on some models and so on. But no, unfortunately, we don't plan to make it open source. I think we're going to publish just to explain a bit more. But if you want, after the conference, we can talk if you need more information.
Plus de questions? Merci.
Thank you very much.